All right, hey everybody, Scott Whiskeyman coming to you from Carlisle, Pennsylvania for another retirement Q&A live session. So thanks for joining us um, and on our session about annuities, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So again, I'm Scott Whiskeyman. I'm a certified financial planner. I am partner in Providers and Families Wealth Management. That's my financial planning firm that I co-own with my wife, Lindsay. So we are a digital firm. We're based out of Carlisle, Pennsylvania. We have clients all over the country, primarily located here in central Pennsylvania. But today, I want to talk to you guys about a very hot button issue when it comes to retirement planning. It's about annuities. So, um, so I guess the first thing to know about me is when it comes to annuities, I'm annuity neutral. So I'm not here today to tell you they're good or they're bad, that you should buy one, that you should never buy one. I think that they're a tool, that they have their place, but there's a lot of different types, many of which are extremely complex and difficult to understand. And I think a lot of people are afraid of them because they end up in them without fully understanding exactly it is they own, or at least only partially understanding what it is they own. So why don't I just back up and just start at the very beginning on what exactly annuities are. So in their simplest term, annuities are an insurance product designed to provide income to the annuitant, which is you, the person who buys the annuity. So how exactly they do that is through what's called risk pooling. So when you buy an annuity, you're pooling risk with other annuity owners um, in exchange for, generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking, guaranteed income for life. When I say not always, you can buy annuities for a limited period of time, for like 5 years, 10 years, and that's it, and then it's done. But in their simplest form, they're lifetime income products built for people going into retirement, generally speaking, who uh, don't necessarily want a lot of market uncertainty. So essentially, you're offloading some of that risk that comes with living a really long period of time and the ups and downs of the market to the insurance company, who obviously has vast resources, and then other buyers come in as well, purchase annuities, and you're sharing the risk with them. So the insurance companies, they offer this lifetime income because they know that some people are going to live to age 100, some people are going to live for 5 or 10 years, and and that's it. On average, the insurance companies are in it for a profit, but they're overseen by state insurance departments, so they are required to honor these guarantees, and they have certain financial solvency requirements that they have to meet in order to provide these guarantees to people who own annuities. So one of the questions I had posted in our description, I really enjoy this. Why am I supposed to hate them? I don't know if anybody remembers the Ken Fisher ad. So Ken Fisher, he owns Fisher Investments. You might, if you watch any cable TV at all, you probably see his advertisements on their investment firm. But going back about 10 years or so, he had these ads all over the internet, and I think he even had a couple TV ads about them saying, "I hate annuities, and you should too." Um, so the question is why should you hate annuities, or should you at all? I just think it's kind of funny because no, I obviously, to me, that's just a scare tactic that says, "Hey, buy into this alternative thing I have, which is my investment management company. That if you invest $500,000, um, that's the way to go." So I think he was playing on people's fears and lack of understanding on what annuities are. So really, when it comes to rage bait like that, and that's really how I'd classify the type of advertising, I think that really is detrimental to the financial world as a whole. I don't think there's any reason to hate annuities. You can dislike them. and that's fine too. But where uh, a lot of this hot button conversation on annuities comes from is, I think, just the lack of transparency on how exactly it is they work. So one of the most complex types of annuities, and this is just one of many types, are variable annuities. And so this is a type of insurance product that's historically been railed against by Susie Orman and Ken Fisher, as it's really expensive. The fees are very high. So to give you an idea of how one of these might work, and by the way, just some background on how I know how these work. I started in the financial services business in 2011 with MetLife, who was at the time one of the largest insurance and annuity providers in the country. So one of the very first things I learned at age 24 um, was about annuities, believe it or not. So I have a pretty good understanding of how variable annuities and all their features work. But generally speaking, it's not an exaggeration. It's not a lie to say that they are expensive. The question is expensive compared to what? So if you take a look at a variable annuity, just a basic variable annuity, which is, let's say that you, the investor, have $100,000 and you're going to put it in this variable annuity contract and that's it. So generally speaking, what you've done there is you put it in a deferred contract that's invested, so it still has some exposure to the market. And then there's some internal fees that are charged called M&A expenses or mortality, and actually drawing a blank on what the A stands for. But those expenses tend to range on the very low end to about 0.35% all the way up to 1.5%. And that's not even for the investment themselves. That's just for the insurance company taking on the risk of you maybe eventually deciding to turn it into lifetime income for yourself. So that right there, if you compare that to just a standard investment account or a 401k, it's already many, many times more expensive. One of the common things done with variable annuities and just deferred annuities in general is they throw on these things that are called riders, which I like to think of as almost like a sidecar on a motorcycle. It's like, motorcycle, you can drive it all by yourself. You can put somebody on the back. You don't have to have this thing on the side, but you could put it there if you choose to for whatever reason. So a rider is not very dissimilar to that. It's just an optional thing that you can choose to put there. There are income riders and there are death benefit riders. So the income riders state that, okay, you put your money in this, you're not taking any money out yet. You just want to let your money accumulate for 3, 4, 5 years, and then eventually you're going to take a distribution from it. So what this income rider does, it says that as long as you're not touching your money, no matter what the market does, you're going to get a little bit of a bump in that future pay, maybe a certain percentage, maybe like 5, 6, or even 7% per year. So you're sort of offloading a little bit of the market risk just before or early on in retirement, and you're handing that over to the insurance company in return for the fact that that your income is going to grow, and then you'll be able to draw from that regardless of what the market does. So, but like anything, there's always a catch, and with that, there's an additional fee. So there might be an additional fee of say 1% per year. So based off of the fees I've just stated, the insurance company is charging 2.25%, and that doesn't include the expenses for the managed investments, which could be, and generally are, a little bit higher than the expenses in your 401k for a similar portfolio. Could be another 0.75 to even up to 1%. So right there, I'm already over 3% just for this annuity product. So that's really expensive. And a lot of people buy these things and have bought these things over the last 2 decades, not fully understanding just exactly what it is that they're buying and how expensive these things are. So I mentioned that income rider that says your income is going to increase guaranteed. Well, when I worked at MetLife, I found a lot of people thought that increased income was actually just an interest rate that they were earning on their cash, and that's not how that works at all. If they had turned around and decided that they just wanted to cash out their contract, you have 2 different sides to your money. You have the actual portfolio value, and then you have the guaranteed income side. Well, the portfolio value could be, say, 150,000, but the guaranteed income side could be 200,000. That guaranteed income side is just a number from which you can draw income. It's not a cash withdrawal amount. So you get your money back as long as you play within the rules, which is you just take an income stream every year. But if you want to cash out and walk away from it completely, then there's a cash surrender value, which is completely different. So I do have some polls here. Got to be honest, I've never done polls, so I'm going to try to do this, and we'll see if it works. All right, here's the first one. So I have that up there. Do you own an annuity? And hopefully you can see it and you can vote on it while I go into the next little bit of topic. So, all right. So we talked about fees. So that's one type of annuity. If that sounds way too complex for you and very overwhelming, I mean, you're not alone. Because they are complex and they are extremely overwhelming. I would point you to, well, if you're in this group, you have access to my book. It's called the Retirees Complete Annuity Handbook for free in our free resources folder. So if you're considering an annuity or you own one and you're just not sure if it's right for you, I just would encourage you to download that book and take a look. It's a short read. It's like 100 pages. And I really do my best to avoid getting super technical in it. So there's that. So that book is available. It's also available for sale on Amazon. Just a little plug for myself. Got to put it out there. If you prefer reading things in hard copy format. So another type of annuity is just a guaranteed income annuity, or also known as a single premium annuity, or SPIA or SPIA, which is much simpler. You can almost think of it as an upside down mortgage. With a mortgage, you're paying in monthly to eventually have equity in this large thing you own, your home. With the income annuity, think of it as almost the opposite. It's upside down. You pay a large amount and you get in return monthly, or you can do quarterly, semi-annually, or annual income. But the difference is at the end of 30 years, instead of it being paid off or paid back to you, generally speaking, you keep getting money for life. So this is the type of thing, a lot of people retire, actually more people than not these days retire, and they don't have pensions. They have Social Security as their guaranteed income source, and they're drawing off of their 401ks, their IRAs, and that's it. So what they'll do is they'll take maybe a portion of their retirement assets, purchase an annuity from an insurance company, and receive lifetime income in return. The fees for these are all built into the money that you receive in return. So there's no fees per se. You're not paying like a 1% per year or something like that. It doesn't work like that at all. There's really no fees. You just have to play by the rules of, okay, well, now you gave up access to that $100,000 in exchange for monthly lifetime income. And generally speaking, the rules are, it can vary, but just a plain Jane single premium immediate annuity, the only thing you get back is your money as long as you're alive. If you pass away and you didn't do any additional planning beyond that, then that's it and the insurance company wins. But generally speaking, people don't buy annuities that way. They'll buy it for 2 lifetimes, so themselves and a spouse, or they'll do what's called period certain, which is they say, I want to guarantee 10, 15, 20 years of payments, even if I die and my wife dies, to make sure that my kids or a charity or whoever I name as a beneficiary continues to get income after that. So generally people will not just buy just regular plain old annuities without any death benefits. People are a little bit too risk averse, at least in my experience, to do that. So that is, again, another type of annuity known as single premium immediate annuities. So yeah, there's all different kinds of annuities, but generally speaking, just know that when you're considering an annuity, You want to know what all the fees are. You want to know what type it is. Is it fixed or variable? Um, and if you're talking to an advisor about it, you want to know how they're getting paid too. So ask them how they're compensated. Are they compensated with a commission from the insurance company, which generally speaking, if they're selling an annuity, the answer is yes, that they are, um, because that transparency is really important. Um, and really take some time to think about if it's actually right for you. Um, if you're retiring and you have a pension and Social Security, an annuity might not really have any place in your plan as long if the pension is big enough. I mean, I've seen people retire where they get like $99 a month for a pension. Obviously, that's not going to do a whole lot to supplement your Social Security. But if you're retiring from a state or a government and you're guaranteed $50,000 a year, which again is rare, but I mean it's common for people that have worked in state or federal government systems for a long time, or even the military. Um, if you're getting that much money plus Social Security guaranteed, an annuity really might not have any place in your retirement, depending on your needs. So. I do have another poll. Maybe I could have asked this first because I feel like maybe you might be biased now based off of the conversation we've had so far, but the poll is, what do you think of annuities? So I'm going to jump back over to my dashboard here. All right, so we do have a comment. Roughly, what is the percent of initial investment portfolio value that you are earning annually, or does it vary widely from annuity to annuity? Yeah, so it's a good question, Neil. I mean, it varies depending on what type of annuity you're talking about. If you're just invested in a variable annuity with no riders, like I was talking about whatsoever, um, well, it's going to depend how you're invested. If you're invested in like an index fund like the S&P 500. So that means you're invested in the broad stock market as a whole in the United States, at least large companies. You're going to essentially be on track with that, minus maybe 1% for investment management and maybe another 1% for the amount that the insurance company charges. So it will correlate and follow that closely, less the fees that come out of the account. Now, but a lot of people might not want to be fully invested or can't be invested, depending on how the annuity contract is written, fully in the stock market. They might and more likely will have a mix of stocks and bonds. So in that scenario, in a variable annuity, you're going to be tracking bonds and stocks to the proportion that you're invested. But this is also only one type of deferred annuity. There's also fixed annuities. So you can purchase a fixed annuity that does have a guaranteed interest rate. And these are something that have made a comeback with interest rates coming back up in the last 5 years or so. And essentially those have those interest rates, which are guaranteed by the insurance companies, not the FDIC, important distinction. It depends on how long you're actually invested, but I've seen as recently as this summer a 3-year fixed annuity paying around 5%. So that's not going to be around forever. In theory, and that sounds good, but you have to keep in mind inflation when it comes to that. So I guess the long and short to answer your question is yes, it does vary widely depending on the type of annuity contract that you buy, and then how long you hold it for. What's the ideal customer for investing in an annuity instead of advising that same customer to simply invest in low-cost index funds? Age, financial position, career stage, etc. Yeah, so that's a good point. So for somebody who's in their accumulation stage of their career, I'd say 20s, 30s, 40s, and probably even early to perhaps even most of 50s. You generally want to accumulate, and annuities don't really have any place in your life at that point. The only exception would be if you're with an employer who their only option is a tax sheltered annuity, and you need to invest in that to get some type of match. In that case, don't scoff at annuities just because they're going to have higher fees. invest so you can get the match, because the free money is going to outweigh the fees that you're paying. So, but generally speaking, for most people that are working, annuities don't really have much of a place in your life. When you get within 5 to 10 years of retirement, that's when the time will come to start educating yourself about them and really trying to decide if they're right for you. Somebody that's 5 years out from retirement, a deferred variable annuity might make perfect sense if they have, say, just Social Security and just money accumulated in IRAs and 401ks, because there is a type of annuity which I referenced earlier, which has guaranteed income growth until you start drawing it. So if they're very risk averse and they look at their 401k every day and that makes them super nauseous, an annuity might make perfect sense, because you're just taking a little bit of that market risk away and offloading it onto the insurance company. I will say at no point does it make sense to do that with all of your retirement funds. I can think of almost no scenario where that would be a good idea. But for a portion of it, to protect it, sure, it makes sense. So yeah, career stage, late career for sure. Financial position is a good question, and that's going to also vary widely. It depends on needs. It depends on goals. What type of income do you want your retirement portfolio to generate for you? Is one question you should answer. Depending on your age, the amount you want your portfolio to generate for you in income might not be enough, and so it might make more sense to purchase an annuity which may or may not have a higher guaranteed income than what you can safely withdraw on your own. It's not always going to be the case, but it could be. Let's see if I got any poll answers. Again, I've never done these polls, so I have no idea how to see if anybody actually answered them. Okay, well, I see the polls, but I don't see any responses to that. I do have them activated, so. Well, anyway, but that pretty much does it for today. So again, I do have a book. It's called The Retiree's Complete Annuity Handbook. It's available on Amazon. You can download it for Kindle. It's a $9.99. The paperback version is $12.99. Or since you're in the group, if you want to give it a preview read or even a full read, it's available in our Google Drive folder. So feel free to check that out. But I know this is super high level, and it could not possibly answer every possible question there is to know about annuities. But just know that before you're considering purchasing an annuity, just make sure you do some thorough investigation on your own. You are your own money's biggest advocate, is what I always tell people. So at the end of the day, no matter how much you trust your Susie Orman or Ken Fisher or Dave Ramsey or your dad or your uncle who watches CNBC every day, you're the only one who's going to really know and decide what's best for you. And every financial situation is different. Don't forget to consider the tax implications of these two. I didn't even get into that. There's some big tax advantages potentially to funds that you can put in and sock away for future use that are not already tax deferred, but that can be for a future conversation. So, but in the meantime, thanks everybody for joining. Neil, thanks for the questions. Really appreciate that. Helps keep it interactive. Hope you found this session helpful, and keep a lookout for an invite to our next retirement Q&A live session. In the meantime, keep plugging away. You will get there, and you will meet your goals. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.